Title: No Food for the Lazy. A vivid tale of hunger, pride, and a wake-up call. In Africa, I still remember the way the sun burned through the slats in my curtain that morning, casting stripes of heat across my bed. It was the kind of heat that clung to your skin like guilt, but I didn't care. I rolled over, tucked the sheet over my head, and slept deeper. I was 21 and living at home. I had dropped out of my accounting course 6 months earlier, and decided the world would somehow bend to my pace. My mother, tired of fighting, had stopped shouting. She had stopped trying, and me? I had stopped listening. Each day blended into the next. Sleep till noon, eat whatever was cooked, spend hours online doing nothing meaningful. I convinced myself I was waiting for the right opportunity. But that Tuesday changed everything. I woke up with hunger. Not just the usual kind. This was growling, twisting, aching hunger. I yawned and scratched my chest lazily, stumbling toward the kitchen, already picturing the pot of leftover rice Mama usually left warming on the stove. But the kitchen was empty. No pot, no plate, no smell, nothing. There was only a folded piece of paper on the table. Mama's careful handwriting stared back at me. Gone to market? Your sister is at school. There's gari in the cupboard, water in the tap. No food for the lazy. I thought it was a joke. A test, maybe. I opened the cupboard. Sure enough, there it was. A sack of dry gari, white and coarse, glaring at me like judgment. I opened the fridge, empty. No stew, no soup. Not even that lone egg that had been sitting in the corner since Friday. I felt insulted, betrayed. Had my mother really left the house knowing I hadn't eaten? No prepared food? Not even bread? I walked back to the note and read it again. No food for the lazy. It echoed in my mind as I sat down staring at the wall. I started to sweat, not from the heat, but from shame. For the first time in months, I was being held accountable, and I hated it. My pride wouldn't let me show weakness. I couldn't just call her. She'd only ask, "So what have you done today to deserve food?" So I poured gari into a bowl, added water from the tap, stirred and stared. No sugar, no milk, no ground nut, just gritty, tasteless survival. I couldn't do it. So I made a bold, foolish move. I decided to visit Auntie Thelma, our neighbor, an older widow with 5 cats, 3 kids, and an impossibly large heart. She always had soup, and she liked me, or so I thought. I knocked lightly, rubbing my belly to prepare for my performance. When she opened the door, I gave her my best humble boy smile. "Auntie, good afternoon. Please, Mama said I should ask if you have any leftover soup or stew. She forgot to keep some for me," I lied. Auntie Thelma looked at me for a long second. Her eyes softened, and then, to my horror, she shook her head slowly. "Your mother came here early this morning," she said gently. "She said not to give you anything, that it's time you learn, that hunger teaches boys how to be men." I wanted to disappear. My throat tightened, but I forced a grin. "No problem, Auntie, thank you." I walked back home in silence. No music, no phone, just the sound of my footsteps and the beating of my heart, loud and humiliating. Back home, I stared at the gari again. This time I ate it. And let me tell you that gari didn't just enter my stomach. It entered my soul. Every bitter grain whispered truth into my ears. Lazy, entitled. Unprepared, dependent. Each spoonful stung more than the last. But when I finished, I felt something new. Resolve. That afternoon, I swept the compound for the first time in years. I washed the dishes, not just mine, but everyone's. I gathered Mama's laundry and scrubbed it by hand the way she always did. I didn't stop there, I even cleaned the windows. By the time Mama returned from the market, I was sweating, soaked, and sitting on the veranda. Weak but proud. She stepped inside the gate and paused. Her eyes scanned the clean yard, the shining windows, the folded clothes. She didn't say a word at first. Then she placed the market bags down and walked over to me. "You hungry?" I nodded slowly. She smiled, but it was the kind of smile that came from somewhere deep. Not from amusement, but from recognition. "Good. You eat like a man, now you're beginning to work like one." That night I ate the most delicious agusi soup I had ever tasted in my life, and from that day on I began to change. I woke up earlier, helped around the house. Eventually I applied for a training program. I didn't become perfect, far from it, but I learned something I'd never forget. Pride doesn't fill stomachs. Laziness doesn't build futures. And in my mother's house, there's no food for the lazy.